Okay, that's enough.
What's going on, awesome people? I'm Marcus. I'm one half of Adventures with Marcus and Tony. And I told y'all, with Truth in the Truck, we were going to change it up a little bit. And I said I was going to bring out something called Conversations on a Tailgate. So here's the first installment. Today, I have my boy Benji with me from church. And basically what we're going to do is I'm going to give him a few minutes to talk to y'all and kind of give his testimony like I did. How in depth he goes, that's going to be completely up to him. One thing I want to make clear as I start this process, when I bring people on to do it, I want them to be open and them to be comfortable, because I know a part of their testimony is going to help somebody watch it. But the one thing I don't want to do is ever make somebody feel uncomfortable. So I just want y'all watching knowing that he's not doing anything that he doesn't want to do. Anything he says is his story, has nothing to do with me. I'm just an outlet and a tool for us to get it out there and hopefully help somebody else. But do us both a favor, and if you've watched it this far, which hopefully you have, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and share it with your friends and family, because that's part of why me and Tony have decided to do this, because we want to help people. You know, we're still going to hike, we're still going to have these adventures, which we have one coming up next week. But at the same time, stuff like this is vital and important, because there's a lot of people out there that's hurting, that maybe hasn't told everybody what's going on in their life and they need a way to do it. Or maybe they're just in a spot and they need to hear somebody else's story, that way they can get out of it, and that's what this is for. So anyway, we're going to give it to Benji, and it's his time to shine. I'm just here.
Hey guys. First, I guess I'll start off. I've heard a saying my entire life is that God won't give you more than you can handle. I'm living proof of that. I'm breathing. I'm walking around. I am a Christian. So starting off, I guess I'll start off in my BC days, before I found Christ. You know, I mean, Christ had found me from the day I was born, but I had not yet found Christ. So I grew up basically going place to place. Mom was a drug addict. Actually is still out there, the way that I used to be. But you know, she went through a lot of men, a lot of abusive men that were not only abusive to my mother, but ended up being abusive to me. So a huge part of my story is things that my mom put us through, and I say us because I have an older brother and a little sister. But my mom was adopted at a young age by what I call my grandparents, my yaya and my papu. She went through a lot of hard things when she was young. And I guess, you know, the way she raised her kids kind of attested to that. But her and her brother basically were separated at a very young age and didn't meet up again in life until they were older. And I don't know what confusion was brought about them, but they had actually formed a relationship. And I grew up with that. That's what I grew up in. I grew up with my mom trying to trick me into calling my uncle Daddy Uncle Mark. Yeah, so you know, I mean, I was just raised in that. That's what I was raised with. So years go by, and I guess my mom is not enough for him anymore, and he becomes sexually abusive with me, which I thank the Lord today that it was me and not my little sister, you know. But yeah, I mean, it went on for a good 6 years. Told my mom called me a liar. It wasn't true, blah blah blah. Well, truth ended up coming out at a later age in life.
Let me pause you right there real quick. Guys, I know for a fact, personally, I can attest to what he's saying. And the only reason I'm stopping him right there is not to cut him off. I want it to be a point for you, if you're watching this, to understand that you're the victim. What you're going through is not your fault. And find somebody you can trust. And honestly, I know trust is a hard word in that situation. Believe me, I know. I also know that not only is it a trust issue, sometimes we don't want people to think a certain way about us, so we don't say anything. I was that person.
Yeah, me too.
For years, I suppressed it, so much to the point where I actually, for a long time, forgot about it. Or at least pretended like I forgot about it. So, if you can't trust somebody, there's helplines, there's centers,
there's churches,
there's pastors. Find somebody outside your circle if you don't think you can trust nobody, and tell them. That way they can tell somebody. It's your story, it's what you're going through. Don't worry about hurting somebody else's feelings, because obviously whoever's doing it to you don't care about yours. Anyway, sorry, go ahead, man.
Skip forward a little bit. You know, that went on for a while. I just wanted you to get the baseline of what I was raised with, you know.
Man, thankfully I only remember once. Whew.
Yeah, mine went on for a long time.
I can't say mine didn't, I just don't remember that much of it.
Yeah, and that brings up a really good point. I believe that I went through certain things. I believe that I remember certain things because God wants to use me in that exact aspect. He wants to use me to help those people.
Yep.
And I believe firmly that that's why He allowed me to remember these things. But skip forward. I'm now the drug addict. I'm using drugs to cope. You know, went through hell as a kid. And the only times that I ever really felt free is when I was high. So, say I was about 97 pounds. I was injecting methamphetamine every day. Killing myself. Because what I held inside was too much for me to hold alone. You know?
Know that feeling.
Yeah. So my grandparents got involved when I got in trouble with the law, and it was a prisoner rehab thing. You know, it's really was the beginning of it. You know, and for a drug addict, it was an easy decision for me. Well, I don't want to go to prison, so I'll go to rehab. Not knowing that that was the beginning of God's journey for me. That was the stepping stone. That's what He used to clear my mind enough to find Him. So I went through a 2-year men's rehab treatment in Statesboro, Georgia. It was called the Men's Lodge. I met a lot of nice guys. You know, a lot of drug addicts like me. Are some of the nicest, best people you'll ever meet once they get clean.
Yep.
But you know, I've lost a couple guys that I went to rehab with. You know, and each year it kind of seems like I lose more. And it's just an eye opener that stuff's still out there.
Yeah.
You know, it's still taking people. So I'd been clean about 11 months. I was right at my 1-year mark. I remember that. We had this meeting at nighttime, and our lead lodge guy came in and he was like, "Look, guys, we've got another option now. We can either go to 3 meetings on Sunday, or we can go to church in the morning and 2 meetings in the evening." Okay, so and in the beginning, it was just to miss a meeting. You know, I was like, "Cool, man, something different. I'll go to church." So the first Sunday I got up, went to church. I was never a holy Jesus, hold my hands up, yell and scream for Christ type of person. But I tell you what, the things that God did to me in that church some of them are unexplainable. You know, just sitting there, not listening, doing my own thing, and all of a sudden the preacher's like talking directly to me. Brings up drug use, brings up ancestry, brings up every single thing that I went through as a kid, and you know, and I'm sitting there floored, like,
how does he know? This man
is talking to me. So I'm ugly crying, you know, a boogering, snotting, like I'm ugly crying.
I've never done that.
And before I know it, man, my feet are on the ground and I'm walking to the front, you know.
Yeah.
And so I've seen people talk in tongues. I've seen people pass out. I have now spoken tongues myself. But
don't freak out, people.
Yeah.
I swear, listen, at the end of the day, I know some of you that watch this may not be spiritual. I'm not going to say religious. I hate that word. I know that's a strong word as well, but at the end of the day, this is not about religion. When I started this, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care about politics. I don't care about what church you're from, what religion you are, what race you are, what gender you are, what sexual preference you care about. That's not the point. You know, religiously speaking, from our Bible, it is what it is. I'm not going to go into that. That's not what this channel is about. This channel is about us loving people and sharing our stories. So don't freak out just because he's talking about speaking in tongues. If you're curious, go find a church that does it. You'll understand. I'll leave that at that. Go ahead, man.
So I left that church changed. I can't tell you that day what was changed.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that when I left, I had an urgency to get clean.
Yeah.
I mean, never have I ever been gung-ho about getting clean. But man, I started having dreams about sponsorship. I started having dreams about what my life looked like in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years.
Something that you probably didn't have up to that point.
At all.
Yeah.
At all. I didn't even know how to look into my future, if that makes any sense. I was such a right now person. I wanted it right now. That I never looked forward.
And if you don't understand what he's saying, I just give you an example. He was the kind of guy that didn't believe he was a man and didn't want to look himself in the mirror up to that point.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I hated who I was.
I mean,
yeah,
been there.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah, because in my mind, the way I was raised, a lot of the things I went through were my fault.
Yeah.
And not the case. Not the case at all. Like, if you're abused, you didn't do anything for that to happen to you.
No.
You can't ask for that. You can't even deserve that. And there's things in the world that people do that are evil. You know, they hurt other people. And I mean, all I can say is I hope one day they find the serenity that I found. You know, I pray that for those people. You know, that's the difference between me today and me before.
Mm-hmm.
Is I care about you. I might not even know who you are, but I guarantee you I care about the things that you've gone through. I care about what it is you're going through. You know, and if there was anything I could do to step outside myself and help, I would.
See what we are. That's the thing. I can second what he's saying just for the simple fact that just to be rather honest about this conversation of being molested or being abused, men don't talk about it enough. And the numbers are very skewed by what you hear and what you see.
Yeah.
1 out of every 6 men that you pass has been molested or sexually abused before the age of 18. 1 in 6. And I know the numbers for girls is even higher at 1 in 3. But we do hear about the female side of it. We don't hear about the guy side of it. So for two guys like me and him that's been through some of the stuff that we've been through, to be willing to talk about it, I promise you, it's more than rehab or counseling. It takes something else, because I guarantee he knows guys, and I know I do, that don't know Jesus and won't have this conversation with anybody, let alone a camera that hundreds and thousands of people can watch. Yeah. This is for y'all. Understand that what we have chosen to do is to tell our story, not because of us, but because of what we went through, because we know that at the end of the day, and we hope and pray that it gives somebody the courage to step out where they can begin to heal those wounds. Because
yeah.
I think you would agree to me when I would say that time heals all wounds. It's not necessarily the case, but God does.
Yeah, love does.
Don't get me wrong, there's scars.
Yeah.
There's scars. And there's scars that we'll carry. But at the same time, just like both of us having tattoos like we do, it's our story. And because of God, we've gotten to the point where it doesn't hurt to tell it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man.
Where was I?
That's a good question.
I know I was
gung-ho. You were gung-ho.
Oh yeah.
We're both ADHD.
Yeah, I was just different.
Yeah.
I was just different in general. You know, I mean, like I said, I don't really know how to explain that. I was just a different person. You know, I wasn't mad that I was there. I wasn't in a hurry to get out. You know, the
thought process changed.
Yes, instead of going to Walmart and trying to find some mouthwash with alcohol in it, you know what I mean? I was buying healthy stuff. You know, I was getting my body back to where it needed to be. And I think that was the first step of my mind clearing up, was God restored me. Not only did He restore me spiritually, but He restored me physically. I would go into the store and randomly think about buying something I've never ever even bought before. Yeah. Like, you know, and that was God like, hey man, that's good for you. You know, hey, how about that one? That was good.
Or
pick
hey,
that one
how
up.
about this one? Nah, you don't need that.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
oh, okay.
That's not what you need.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I just walked through the store, and if I looked at it and saw it and I was like, I should probably get that, I'd get it. Like, and that right there was like the beginning of my Christian walk. You know, I mean, have I gone through trial and error? Oh yeah. I mean, for sure. I've even gone through relapse. You know, I have. So, you know, and that's a good point to bring up too, is, you know, a lot of people, I feel like, who are on a spiritual walk of any kind, you make a mistake and then your spiritual walk is over.
Yeah.
That's detrimental. That can kill you.
That's that one and done thought process.
Yes, that can kill you.
Yeah.
Like, that can kill you. Just know that mistakes are going to come. Hardships are going to fall on you. You're going to make wrong decisions. You know, we're humans. We're humanistic. That's what we do. We mess up every once in a while.
Oh yeah.
But you can't revert. You know, I was taught that once you make a step forward, you have no excuse to make that step back, because now you know better. Mm-hmm. You've learned a little bit. You know more than you used to know. You have no excuse to still be living down here when you can be living up here. That's what, like, I live my life by today. I am I mean, you know, I'd like to say that I'm 9 years clean. I was just recently about 8 years clean, eight and some odd months. And I mean, as you know, I had a drinking fit. and I relapsed, and God brought me back once again. Actually wrecked my car, and should have been in a good bit of trouble, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say that God jumped down here and, like, you know, but He laid the foundation for me to get back on my feet, for me to still be with my family. You know, mistakes. I just say that mistakes will be made.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Well, and that's a misconception. I think a lot of churches. I'm hollering at the churches right now. If you listening, a lot of churches make this mistake. When you find God, there are those cases that it's, bam.
Yeah.
And you don't,
alright.
and you don't slip back. Don't mean you don't struggle, but you don't slip back. But the truth is, even in the church with your Christian walk, sometimes you slip. And it's so cliche to say this, but it's not how many times you fall, it's how many times you get up.
And that's factual. Yeah.
And that's the one thing I will say about my Jesus. As long as I come back to Him and ask Him to forgive me, He's going to love me. He's like a parent. He's like your parents.
Yeah.
Now, it's not a free pass. Don't think that's what we're saying. I ain't saying go sin and fall off the bandwagon just because you can come back.
Right.
I'm just telling you, if you fall off the bandwagon, I'm not going to kick you off because you did. And that's the way Jesus is. He's not going to kick you when you're down. He's going to put His hand out and raise you back up. Or I can actually say in Benji's case, make sure he was surrounded by a good group of men that held him accountable.
Yeah.
And
That
I know
basically loved me until I loved myself. Like,
and,
I mean.
And with him being through the rehab situation, he knows for a fact sometimes with accountability, having a group around is probably the most important thing. When somebody's going to hold you accountable for something,
Yeah.
you step in, you step up to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my preacher showed up at my house and ransacked my refrigerator, and literally watched me pour everything down the drain.
And I can tell you right now, there ain't a whole lot out there that I'm aware of that's going to go through that. And I will say we do both go to the same church, and I'm not going to say their name right now because there's always
that's what I was trying to do.
There's always critics.
Yeah.
But if you really want to know, you can probably go back to some of my other videos. I know I've talked about it, or even my Facebook post. If y'all really want to know where we go,
yeah, send us a message.
Yeah, send us a message. I'll tell you. Our door's wide open.
Yeah.
But sure. I'm not going to open it for critics, though.
Correct.
Because you're not going to talk bad about my church.
Hey.
Or talk about preachers. Because I will tell you this. I may be a man of God, but I will defend my family.
I'm still a man.
And my church is my family, just like my wife and my kids and my parents are. This man right here is like my little brother. Don't come in here hating because you're going to be like, oh, well, he did. Nah, shut it. You're going to get deleted. We ain't having that conversation. This is about building people up. This is about giving people the opportunity to tell their story, or give them courage to tell their story. It's just mine and his story is at the foot of a cross.
Yeah.
And I don't care how your story ends, as long as you get from a better spot than where you were at. But for us, ours ends at the foot of Jesus, period. Anyway, go ahead, man. Sorry, I get worked up. Y'all should know that by now.
So, I mean, from there to now, you know, I'm married. I married a woman who had 3 kids that was in an abusive relationship. And God made me their father. Is exactly what He did.
No, hold on. Dad.
Okay. Yeah, Dad. Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I struggle with that.
Yeah. No. Yeah, you're right.
Because anybody
right.
can be a father. It takes a man to be a dad.
Yeah. So they basically the kids made me a dad.
Yeah.
And I have 2 biological children of my own now.
What's so stretchy?
And I mean, my life is just so much different than I ever pictured it. I mean, it's better than I ever imagined it would be. You know, am I a rich man? By no means. But I live good.
By the standards of man, we may not be rich. That's for sure.
Correct. But I live good.
Yeah.
You know?
All right. So y'all have heard some of his stories. Now I want to ask a couple questions. 10 years ago, and I'm not going to show you where he lives. That's none of your business. 10 years ago, looking back, because where we're sitting at right now, we can see most of your property. 10 years ago, would have thought that anytime you wanted to, you could have grabbed a fishing pole out of your garage over there, walk 100 yards out the back of your house and go fishing?
No. No. 10 years ago, I didn't think I had 5 years left.
I know that feeling.
I mean, yeah, to be as real as I can. Yeah.
And obviously, you know, rehab does play a big part in that. I understand that completely. I'm not saying rehab didn't.
It did. It did. It definitely did. The educational part.
Yeah.
That's what I needed more than anything, was the education
Okay.
of what I was doing to myself.
But what would you contribute outside of hard work? Because trust me, listen, y'all know how hard I work. Y'all hear about me talking about it all the time. I can tell you right now, this young man, and I can say young man because he's about 10 years younger than me, if not a little bit more than that. Shut up, Marcus, you're getting old. He doesn't work like his generation, I promise you that. He works like my generation and the generations before me. This dude will go to work, then go to another job if he needs to provide for his family. I get it. But outside of working hard in rehab, what would you say is the biggest contributing factor to where you are today from where you were 10 years ago? I mean, I think we know the answer, but...
I mean, my wife. My wife.
And I wish I could get her out here on this, but that's probably a no. She might do it one day. We'll get there. And I can tell you personally, I sit in the back row at church, and I've watched him over the last 2 years, even through the relapse, because let's be honest, the last relapse he had was right at a year ago, maybe a little longer than that now.
It's right out of here.
You know,
I think maybe a year and a couple weeks.
Yeah. Thankfully, I was one of the first people that he called. I knew what was going on.
Yeah, you knew before I even told you anything.
Yeah. I mean, that, and just to be 100% honest, I'd already seen some writing on the wall.
Yeah.
When he called me, I said what he told me before he even said it. And that ain't me. That's the man up there. I can tell you that right now. You just know things. God tells you things. That's just plain and simple. If you don't believe it,
try it out. Become a Christian. You know what I mean? Give it a shot.
Hey, not just beyond that. Your gut. You get gut feelings all the time. I'm telling you right now. That's not
your gut.
Your gut
that's
telling you, hey, that's not how that works.
That's not your guts.
But I can tell you, his wife is an amazing woman. I watch her take care of 5 rambunctious little kids. Well, some of them's not so little anymore. He's about like me. His are about to time out. He's got a few more years to go. But as she hustles, she works a couple different jobs.
Real estate mostly.
She puts in the time. But watching them 2 years ago come into the church,
kind of broken and limping in.
Oh yeah, I mean definitely. You know, it was just going from 2 people sitting 1 or 2 rows ahead of you, sitting there like we are right now, maybe. Every now and then to.
When it gets exciting, you know.
When church gets to rocking and the Holy Spirit begins rolling, this cat right here, you never know what he's going to be doing.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's because I listen to the Holy Spirit. Like, I don't know what I'm going to be doing either, to be honest.
But his wife, man, I don't know a ton of her backstory.
Similar to ours.
But I can say this. I know it's been rough.
Yeah.
Spiritually, I know she's been broken.
Yeah.
And I can probably say without a doubt, but I'm not, what her previous religion or ideology and faith was.
Mm-hmm. You'd be right. I know what you're going to say. Just because their culture.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But to see her now, I mean, honestly, last week, they were in church. Benji's in the sound booth. I can see his wife wanting to cut loose and let go. But she's holding their baby. Because their youngest is 4 months now?
4 months, yeah.
4 months old?
Yeah.
Mine are no longer that small. I cannot hold mine. So I went and got her. Well, kind of met halfway, actually.
Yeah, that was weird. I'm sorry to say that, but that was weird. I remember that. You both just kind of turned and walked to each other. It's like you were meant to meet right there.
And I took the baby and I went back and I danced with her, moved. Because I'm a big softy for kids anyway, especially babies. But it gave her the opportunity to really begin to worship God and get into what was going on, and she needed that.
Yeah.
She wanted that, but she had the baby, and it was just amazing to watch because I can tell you 2 years ago, she might have handed me the baby, but she still wouldn't have got up.
Yeah.
But now she takes part in the church. She gets up and praises, and unless you've been through it, it's hard to explain. But I think the excitement we show tells the story.
I mean, it's life change, man. I mean, it's complete life change.
Absolutely. And I know for a lot of people, they're like, oh, hey, listen to me. I don't care who you are. I don't care what background you come from. Everybody has something. Whether it's the gym, whether it's another religion.
Mm-hmm.
And I know he learned this through rehab. Every addict finds another addiction.
For sure. Mine's work.
You know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You find things that are better than the last thing to replace where you're at. And at the end of the day, for those that are like, oh, God this, God that, listen. And I say this with love. I would rather serve a God that don't exist and just die than not serve a God that does and burn in hell. Just plain and simple.
Just missing the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense why you would even risk that. Like, you know, I mean,
I agree. And
do I believe that God is real and exists? Yes. I believe that Jesus Christ died on a cross for my sins. I firmly believe that.
Yep.
But I can't tell you that I know. Guaranteed 100%, I can prove it. I choose to believe it. Yep. And I believe that's the biggest part of being a Christian is the free will that God gave us.
Yep.
The free will to say no.
Yep.
You know, does he want that? Of course he doesn't want that. I mean, at least I don't think so. But that free will makes our yes so much more impactful.
Yeah.
Because we chose it. It's our decision. And I choose to say yes.
And I hope y'all don't think we're Bible beating, because I'm not. What we're saying is this is a huge part of our story.
It's a huge part of who I am now. I mean, yeah, for sure.
Do we walk down the street and whack you over the head and say, go serve Jesus? No.
No, but if you'd like to have a conversation, we can do that.
Absolutely. Am I going to chase you? Not
I
unless
don't
I
know.
see you doing
Yeah,
something stupid.
that
Then I
depends.
might, you know.
That depends.
But I'm not going to beat you over the head. Benji's not going to beat you over the head.
No more.
But we will tell you what we've been through.
Mm-hmm.
We will tell you what we've came from and where we are now.
Help
and
you what you're going through.
And exactly, to help you get through what you're going through. But we can also tell you that we believe where we know we're going.
Mm-hmm.
And are we going to stumble along the way? Sure.
Sure. That's guaranteed.
But at the same time, like he said, if you would have known him 10 years ago, it wouldn't be this conversation.
Oh, you wouldn't.
If you would have known me
Yeah.
22 years ago, you wouldn't be hearing this conversation.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. One of the differences between Benji and myself is he wasn't raised around the church. I was. But that ought to tell you something about our stories. The fact that we both carry very similar stories, but we came from two different sides of the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. That it can happen to anybody.
But the difference between his story and my story is one common denominator, and that's Jesus.
Oh yeah.
I mean, from his walk of life to my walk of life, very similar. To where we are now, pretty freaking similar. Considering he's at least 10 years younger than me in a whole nother generation, and we still found the same Jesus. Never knowing each other's stories, to being able to have a conversation on a tailgate to help y'all out. That's how my God works.
Yeah.
And I know that's how his God works. So, and you know what? We're going to leave it at that. We're going to end this thing. I can tell you this, at some point Benji will be back on here. May not be for a conversation on the tailgate.
Yeah, I'd love to, man.
But he will definitely be back.
I support what you're doing.
And hopefully, maybe next time, we can get his wife out here. I do have somebody else that is already lined up to do it next.
Oh, cool.
You know the guy.
I'm sure I do.
He knows the guy. And it's crazy.
Did he just have a baby?
No, he didn't. But
No?
he does got a similar story.
Okay.
Like, seriously.
Yeah.
And he just told me some of it today, and I was dumbfounded.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Huh.
So I'm telling you, it's going to be good. So hang around. And no, it won't be all guys. And no, Benji, don't yell at Bentley. We got kids in the background doing things they shouldn't be doing. But that's kids. He's probably going to jump in frame here in a minute.
Spider-Man's coming. Oh,
But
Spider-Man's coming.
That's a part of what I said that was real about YouTube, and what I'm doing is...
These are life changers right here.
Yeah, that we would always be real. But anyway, that's enough of us rambling. We could go for hours. So we're going to leave you with this. Tell somebody. Y'all know my email. It'll be in the description. My phone number will be in the description. If you don't want to talk to me and you want to talk to Benji because you relate more to him, text me, email me.
Yes.
Give me your phone number and your name, and I will give it to him, and I will email you back his number, whatever it needs to.
You have full permission to give anybody information to contact me.
And that's the way we'll do it. You got to email me or text me first before I give it out. I'm not going to put it online for him.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that because he's got more babies than I do.
And haters gonna hate, you know.
Yep. And at the end of the day, I can still firmly say I'd much rather be tried by 12 than carried by 6, even though I love God, so don't come playing with that game. But yeah, we love y'all. We're here to help. That's the whole name of this game. Whether it's conversations on the tailgate or an adventure that Tony and I have, we're here for people to show love and to show people God through our actions. And that's it. So until next time, this is where we're going to love you and leave you. And remember, God loves you. We love you.
We do.
And if you can't hug somebody, at least smile and wave. And remember, you never know whose life it might change. We'll see y'all next time.